Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Ted Turner. Success leaves clues, kids. I just named 5 of the greatest names in business in the last 150 years. And they all have one thing in common. They're ball busters. They're hard as nails. Where does that leave you? I still work 50, 60 hours a week. And I haven't had to work in 35 years. You're not willing to do anything. You're not willing to sacrifice anything to be a high-performance person.
I don't want to be like that.
No, most people don't.
I want to be liked.
Yeah, well, see, you want to fit in. I'm the only speaker that you're ever going to hear that really, with all his heart, doesn't give a shit. If I leave here you liking me, I did something wrong.
Anyone can sail in smooth waters. Anyone can dance when the music is playing.
So is it just a run in the rain? You tell me.
Remind yourself of what that door opening is going to feel like.
So I have dreams. Compulsions to be legendary, evolving from the imaginary, and it's near and it's real. I can see. In due time, we realize that real life is defined by our own eyes. And I have blueprints to the skyline. It's just reality is built methodically. And overnight success, you would never guess, takes a long time. You have to cut lifelines and navigate landmines. But it's your move on your cue. Just decide. So I sat there, thought about it. How long am I going to go on about it? Put my shoes on, I said so long, and went outside. Right through the field I used to run by, where the rows of sunflowers waist high, but it was different than what I envisioned. There weren't any road signs or guidelines or letters that said it's all just fine. It was just me adjusting as I made my way to the sunrise. Then I paused. On the ground below me was a little door. I knocked slowly, was pretty scared, maybe ill-prepared, but we get one life only. So I opened the hatch, looked down, and it's pitch black, no sound. And if you don't choose any road will do. I've been riding logistical merry-go-rounds and my eyes are wide. Restless soul with scores to settle from years ago. I know that there's more cause I told me so. I'm going down the rabbit hole and there's not a way out. The chips fall, I'm all in. Now my prospects are in lockstep and each step is a shakedown. I got a coat of armor, sword of steel, call to arms cause the threat's real. And see, crowns are made on battlefields, so your majesty, no, I will never kneel. Time to face fear, right front center. Watch doubts fall like it's November. Got a treasure map in my backpack. It says life's golden. What a pleasure. Been round and round and free falling now. Cause there's ghost schools and there's goblins out. Are you leaving us? They call me treasonous. Think that you're dangerous. You must be delirious. Just in the guns fire and the trumpets start and the ground trembles from the steady march. And it looks bad cause their deck's stacked. But my king beats a queen of hearts. They're trying to win in spades, so I set fires with the kind of flames that forge empires. And like a hurricane, but I'm a tad insane. Cat 5, Cheshire. Right around we go. The next episode under the second story. So look out below. Collect haters' tears that makes a steady flow. And the greatest fears, I told you so. I know it though. There's no impossible. You can watch it pass. You can watch it grow. Be more powerful than you will ever know. I'm going down the rabbit hole.
Be the kind of trader who sees the big picture. The world is changing around you. Global threats push gold, the safe haven asset, to higher prices each and every day. Now's your chance to start trading gold. Just go to capex.com and register to get up to a $5,000 bonus on your first deposit. Simply use GOLD5000 as a promo code and you're good to go. Capex.com proudly welcomes you to the next level trading experience. Register now and start taking full advantage of the new gold rush. Terms and conditions apply. Exposure to gold obtained via contracts for difference, which are leveraged products and incur a high level of risk. Capex.com is operated by JME Financial Services, Pty Ltd, an authorized financial services provider.
I'm exhausted. Had it all figured out and I lost it. They say that's the cost, but it just feels like a lot. Stop, are you going or not? I miss certainty. Miss the 9 to 5s, knowing exactly where I need to be and why I'm not built for this. Progress moves in slow motion. They're out making money and getting promotions, saying all the right things, pulling all the right levers, while I sit here, write my future self love letters. Who's winning? Is this the end or beginning? 'Cause I'm starting to feel like reality's slipping, and bank accounts, they aren't very forgiving, and life on edge feels like falling, not living. If effort brings victory, what am I missing? Nothing good comes easy. When we have to, we push through, not knowing completely. You're here because you're made for this next level, taking these places that most people won't. Start embracing it. Who cares what they do? They're not you. You'll go through more now than you think you're supposed to, but that shows you can cope with the highs and the lows, because you rose to be more. Could've run away, could've avoided the thorns, could've been comfortable. Blood, sweat, and tears, they're expendable. No more pretending, man, build something memorable. Don't drink from their cup or by stories they tell, because when all their time's up, you'll have dug your own well. You did it. Use lifelines, you're topped off for a lifetime. So drop all those one-liners, we'll get them next time. No, this time is your time, and whatever you decide will end up being real life. No stop signs, just storylines. This whole thing is a misunderstanding, a miscalculation. Jumped and missed the landing. I'm mystified, I can waste so much time. These ovations are strictly imagination, not standing. So much for planning, guess fate left without me. Those failure statistics, yeah, they'll be about me. Was overly optimistic, forgot the logistics. Guess we all learn sometime, don't we? Good is not good enough, no. How long do I stay down before I let go? I buried my pride, took it inside, but never enough. It takes a toll, it gets old getting told you've got miles of road left to go. You're alone with this future unknown. Just go home. Just go home, it's safe there. Yeah, I'll find some embrace there. Look, it's time to admit defeat. A humble retreat, check the box and complete to my core. Intrinsically, it's not for me, I can't do this. I knew this is how it would be. No fame, no fortune, no names on marquees, just running in place every day on repeat. This is the world I want to see, where everything's taken with no guarantees. No. Come on, man, pick your head up. Go back inside, half a life's learning to get up. How can I make you see that you have everything you need, and what you want to be is never out of reach? Fate deceives sometimes, but destiny's calling, so can't let the phone ring. You know there's no all-knowing. Go level up, no letdowns. Let the world in, push fear out. It's self-belief, it starts right now. When hell freezes, you lay down. Until then, it's your town, it's your story, it's your crown. Live in the clouds, feet on the ground. They stand still, you run around. Go mesmerize, or they socialize. There's dollar signs to be maximized. If you live it right, regret nothing. Loud applause, the sweetest sounding. This moment won't happen again, and never becomes forever unless you choose to begin. So see greatness in each step, and power in progress. Your future, yeah, that's limitless, it's infinite. Don't forget you want this.
Getting your business funded is a lengthy process with the banks, and it can take weeks before getting an answer. ProfitFX works with the best in the finance industry to bring you an unrivaled business funding solution for South African businesses. Our funding partners have funded millions in the last year in support of growing your business and our economy. Get in touch with your talk show host to request more information. A trade history of 3 years or more and an annual turnover of 1 million rand or more is required. Terms and conditions apply.
The champ is here! 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 The champ is here!
Good afternoon and welcome to Boom Market Stock Show. This is your host Rian Hobson, and we're doing a bit something different today, which is actually quite a touchy subject, which is actually the farming industry in South Africa. We know what the history of South Africa when it comes to land and all of those things, and it still continues until this day, where the land question is still a huge debate, and due to our past, it's a very complex story. But look, that is our history, and obviously today we are still sitting with it, and people are pushing government to distribute the land actually to all people of South Africa, which is basically it's highly impossible. But my main concern of this whole topic of today is actually the sharp rises in food prices. Now, there's a lot of various factors that goes in. Some blame it on the farm murders. I do understand that the farm murders is actually a huge concern. Then we have the droughts in South Africa, and then we have a serious wildfire in actually the Free State, which actually damaged quite a lot of farms in particular. And that part of the country is actually where the farming industry is actually doing exceptionally well. We have about, I think it was 11 million hectares of farmland that is there, and there was basically 1 million hectares that was burned out this week in that region, and it actually caused some pain to the farmers on that side, and it is really devastating. But my concern, and there was the data is actually very difficult to find. Yesterday and the day before, I was trying to look into data, especially when you look today at the potato prices that is actually been soaring for 140%. Some have it at 160% where it actually increases. Then you have meat prices that is shooting through the roof in South Africa. You have mutton that goes for about 134 rand a kilo. That is now mutton. Lamb, if mutton is 134 kilo, you can just imagine what is lamb. In South Africa, which is for me actually, that's why I'm actually grappling with this data. It's actually a country that's actually having a food surplus year after year. Yes, there's some parts that we have droughts and all these things, but in general, South Africa is actually a produce food in a surplus. We actually export a lot of our food out to other countries. So if you have a situation where a country is actually having a surplus of food, then what is the problem then? Why is the food prices so high? And that is where you have to put the question mark on, like, what could be then the problem? If you have a surplus of food in a country, but you have 30 million people that's on the tip of hunger. You have literally 14 million people or 14 million South Africans that don't know where their meal will come from. 14 million South Africans. You have 30 million South Africans that actually faces dire poverty, which is actually half of the population in South Africa. You also have the unemployment rate, which is very high in South Africa. You have 1 out of 4 South Africans that are basically now unemployed. Numbers can be higher because it's also very difficult to calculate the unemployment rate in South Africa. If you look at the expand version, I fully believe that we're sitting with 1 out of 5, with about 50% of South Africans that are out of work in South Africa. That is what I actually estimate on, if you look at the expand definition of South Africa. And that will also lead to more poverty and hunger in South Africa. And then you have approximately 18 million South Africans that are on social grants. And then you have about 3.6 million of that 18 million that actually see social grants as their only income. Now, we all know social grant is a very, very, very small amount of money to receive every month. But for 3.6 million South Africans, and believe me, the numbers can be higher. It can definitely be higher, which see that as the only income in South Africa. So that is actually where the discussion comes from today. That grapple my mind is like, how can a country have a food surplus and you have such dire poverty? Where is this problem? Now, previously, there was someone that actually inboxed me. It was quite a steamy debate, me and this other two gentlemen, where they were talking about climate change, and I was now commenting on climate change, where actually the story goes over Richard Branson that said that we need a bit of a, if I can just put it in simple context, that we need to actually inclusive a climate change discussion where you have to attract more black people also in discussion, because predominantly it was just, or it still is, just a white discussion when it comes to climate change. Or more European countries or Western countries are talking about climate change, and the debate is not so heavy in parts of Africa. Now, I was answering, or I was leaving a comment there by stating that I just don't understand why can people put this climate change as a priority, where you have millions of South Africans that are still in poverty, or Africans in general, that are still in poverty. So you want to tell me that say for example, I'm the president, so I need to tell people that literally burns wood or coal or paraffin that makes their food. So I must tell them, listen here, you must look after the climate. You can't burn the stuff. And that is the only way of actually making stuff, to boil water, to keep themselves warm, and to make food. So you want to tell me that I need to tell those people to say, listen here, stop burning wood or coal or use paraffin because we need to worry about the climate. Tell me, how can someone in that situation worry about a climate? He's only worried about food. So, and then I also looked at the climate change story, which actually totally messed up the fishing industry. I don't know you guys familiar with that, but the fish in South Africa is extremely, extremely high, and which is a very nutritious meal for kids specifically, that they need to get the omega-3s and all the oils that goes with it. And these guys are saying, no, you can't fish this, you must only fish so much. I'm sorry to say, but these environmentalist people are not taking consideration that there is poverty. Where you have the fishing industry at harbors in all of these places where, back in the day, you have people that would drove around in their buckies and sell fish at a very cheap price. But now, because all these environmentalist people, no, you can't fish this, you can't. My concern is there is still poverty. Unless you take out those people out of poverty, then you can maybe put the case up for climate change. And then they say, no, but the fish will be all finished by 2030, and all these nonsense projections that they have on. They also said in 2012, we all will be dead because the world will be underwater. These environmental people are literally working on my bloody nerves, because you can't actually have a situation where you put so much regulation on the farming industry, on the fishing industry, and all of these things to try and push your narrative through. Now, for me and you, who can afford data, who can buy food and all of those things, yes, we can talk about maybe about climate change and all of this stuff. But what about the 30 million South Africans who basically don't care about the climate, who just want to eat? Now, that is where I have the problem. Because now Richard Branson, which everybody obviously look up to, he's pushing this narrative through because he doesn't have to worry. He can just go to an island and chill there and talk this nonsense about climate change, and that black people must also be part of the conversation. Can we first sort out the poverty situation, and then we can look at climate change? I fully understand in Africa there's a serious management problem when it comes to our governments and literally trying to make the economy possible. But what I personally think, governments are just in Africa, and South Africa particular, are following a narrative of climate change and all of these things, and writing regulation that makes things extremely difficult for people in poverty to get out of it. What about the uncle with a bakkie that drives around and selling fruits, but because of climate change, that uncle, his bakkie is maybe, I don't know, 500,000 kilometers or even more on the clock, and that bakkie is not roadworthy because of climate change. Now he needs to stop operating because he needs to because the government is following a narrative which is not which can't work in South Africa. And that is where the farming industry, also in South Africa, becoming extremely difficult because of this nonsense when it comes to climate change. But that's one of the problems. That's one of the problems. But my narrative on climate change and all of these things, it's really pissing me off because our government and Cyril Ramaphosa is just following this narrative that we must do everything to address climate change. What about the coal industry, for example, which is a far cheaper narrative in South Africa to produce energy? I understand with the whole Eskom thing, it's a problem. I fully understand that. But South Africa has coal here for the next decade here. We can produce coal at a very cheap price and create electricity at a cheap price. Now, he's writing legislation or busy with it or looking over it that actually prevent South Africa or will prevent South Africa in the future from producing coal. Now you're going to make electricity even more expensive. How the hell does that make sense? Yes, the climate is getting warm. You know what? Personally, I actually don't believe in this whole nonsense of climate change because I'm staying in Port Elizabeth and the wind has been blowing for the last 36 years since I'm alive. I will just take a short break and then I'll be back with you.
The champ is here! 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 The champ.
They see 30 seconds. They didn't see 10,000 hours.
Anyone can sail in smooth waters. Anyone can dance when the music is playing.
So is it just a run in the rain? You tell me.
Remind yourself of what that door opening is going to feel like.
So I have dreams. Compulsions to be legendary, evolving from the imaginary, and it's near and it's real. I can see. In due time, we realize that real life is defined by our own eyes. And I have blueprints to the skyline. It's just reality is built methodically. And overnight success you would never guess takes a long time. You have to cut lifelines and navigate landmines, but it's your move on your cue, just decide. So I sat there, thought about it. How long am I gonna go on about it? Put my shoes on, I said so long and went outside. Right through the field I used to run by, where the rows of sunflowers waist high, but it was different than what I envisioned. There weren't any road signs or guidelines or letters that said it's all just fine. It was just me adjusting as I made my way to the sunrise. Then I paused. On the ground below me was a little door. I knocked slowly, was pretty scared, maybe ill-prepared, but we get one life only. So I opened the hatch, looked down, and it's pitch black, no sound. And if you don't choose any road will do. I've been riding logistical merry-go-rounds and my eyes are wide. Restless soul with scores to settle from years ago. I know that there's more cause I told me so. I'm going down the rabbit hole and there's not a way out. The chips fall, I'm all in. Now my prospects are in lockstep and each step is a shakedown. I got a coat of armor, sword of steel, call to arms cause the threat's real. And see, crowns are made on battlefields, so your majesty, no, I will never kneel. Time to face fear right front center. Watch doubts fall like it's November. Got a treasure map in my backpack. It says life's golden. What a pleasure. Been round and round and free falling now. Cause there's ghost schools and there's goblins out. Are you leaving us? They call me treasonous. Think that you're dangerous. You must be delirious. Just in the guns fire and the trumpets start and the ground trembles from the steady march. And it looks bad cause their deck's stacked. But my king beats a queen of hearts. They're trying to win in spades, so I set fires with the kind of flames that forge empires. And like a hurricane, but I'm a tad insane. Cat 5, Cheshire. Right around we go. The next episode under the second story. So look out below. Collect haters' tears that makes a steady flow. And the greatest fears, I told you so. I know it though. There's no impossible. You can watch it past, you can watch it grow. Be more powerful than you will ever know. I'm going down the rabbit hole.
Be the kind of trader who sees the big picture. The world is changing around you. Global threats push gold, the safe haven asset, to higher prices each and every day. Now's your chance to start trading gold. Just go to capex.com and register to get up to a $5,000 bonus on your first deposit. Simply use GOLD5000 as a promo code and you're good to go. Capex.com proudly welcomes you to the next level trading experience. Register now and start taking full advantage of the new gold rush. Terms and conditions apply. Exposure to gold obtained via contracts for difference, which are leveraged products and incur a high level of risk. Capex.com is operated by JME Financial Services, Pty Ltd, an authorized financial services provider.
The champ is here! 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 The champ is here!
Good afternoon and welcome to Bull Market Stock Show. This is your host Rian Hobson, and we're still doing the whole story of the farming. Is farming actually the way to go in South Africa? Now, the one part that I'm going to explain about this whole climate change narrative, and I fully understand with the droughts and all of those stuff, but that is not something unique. That is really not something unique in South Africa or across the world or across Africa actually. That is, in South Africa's terms, that is not something unique. We actually get a drought every between 15 and 20 years in South Africa, especially if you look at the Eastern Cape. So if the Eastern Cape specifically, or Port Elizabeth specifically, do get a lot of droughts. And I know for years I know that droughts do come. And honestly, I don't know why this is now a big issue. We're supposed to be prepared to get the infrastructure ready. We can blame government for this stuff also, because obviously the leaks and all of those things is also a huge problem in South Africa, and the infrastructure that is old and supposed to be patched up and everything, and new dams were supposed to be built, and a lot of things can go in, but definitely you can't just put this whole story on climate change. That is what really pisses me off, and people use this as an excuse by saying, okay, yeah, the potato prices are going up, it's because of climate change. If the forests burn, yeah, it's because of climate change. Everything is bloody climate change. If the rain is just heavy, yeah, it's because of climate change. I mean, that is absolute nonsense. We will not get to the problem if we just blame everything on climate change. Now, the data of the food price is extremely sketchy, because every time if you just press in Google, or you want to do research on this whole entire topic, then the whole bloody thing of climate change come in. If you go look at data, for example, then the whole data goes also about climate change. I just can't get to that point where to be honest, I just don't believe in climate change. It doesn't make sense to me. For example, as I just explained, I'm in Port Elizabeth. I was born here. The wind has been blowing every single day here. And you want to tell me there's somehow climate change. Now, why didn't the wind stop blowing? It may sound like a very stupid question, but I really want to know, why did the wind not stop blowing? The weather in Durban, obviously in your winter, you will get a very warmer winter in Durban. Why didn't that change? The earth get warmer, but if you go back in history, you will see even far worse droughts. And temperatures that were actually far worse than what we experience now. So this whole climate change story, and it's always, they blame always the industrial side of the world, like we're burning too much coal, or it's this, or it's this, or it's that. Now, you want to tell me if Ramaphosa is signing those deals, which they did already go ahead with the Paris Accord by signing the coal thing and all this type of nonsense that you can't produce. South Africa has all the minerals in the world. Now, if you put that out, that we can't use coal or whatever the case may be, or the cars need to be driving at a certain level before it pollutes the population, look, all this nonsense, then how the hell will you get South Africans out of poverty, because we need to industrialize our economy or reindustrialize our economy. Now, if you put some climate nonsense in front of us, how the hell will we get this 30 million South Africans out of hunger? How the hell is that even possible? That for me is what pisses me off, because you can't just follow a popular statement about climate change and then think, okay, right, we will try and regulate the economy aggressively also. And then you expect people to get jobs. Then you expect the poverty rate to decrease. Then you expect 18 million people not to actually to claim social grants every month. You expect 4 out of 10 South Africans or 50% of South Africans to get a job, where you literally slaughtering the industrialization of South Africa. So my big question is also the farming industry. Now, for me personally, there is huge holes there. And when it gets to waste, that is actually where I get a bit of confusion. But the climate change story people actually give me a bit of a hint there when I actually went through that data. They actually said South Africans are a very wasteful country. Now, that is actually what the whole topic was about. With a country with so much unemployment and with so much hunger, and we are actually wasting quite a lot of food in South Africa. Now, if you break down the data, now that is what they wrote, the environmentalist people. And if you look at more specifically, if you go down maybe to Stats SA and all of those things, and then you see that the households, the waste from households is not so severe. In fact, it's a drop in the ocean actually. And then I was like, okay, now where the hell does and this is just on food. So where does this waste come from then? Is it from the farmers? Is it from the retailers? Or is it from the manufacturers? Now that is where the big question comes from. But one thing I can tell you now is not coming from South African households. Yes, there is waste, I can tell you now, but it is not to the data what these environmentalists are saying, that it's just putting one blanket over South Africa and say South Africa is a wasteful country and we are in the top 10. Fine enough. But if you look at the data, it is not from the households. It's somewhere between the retailers, the manufacturers, or the farmers. Now, one thing that I picked up, the farmers there has difficulty to get into the market. They can produce food. That is not a problem there either. But to sell that products to the market, that is where the big question come in. Because you must remember, you have tomatoes, you have potatoes, you have whatever, pumpkins, whatever. Those, as they call it, perishable goods. So it's very sensitive. So if you pick it up, you just have to quickly go sell it, because otherwise it will get rotten. Now, the farming industry, what I can pick up, that is where the problem comes in with the distribution side. And then, because of the environmentalists, they were complaining about the dumping sites. So, I can't say specifically, but for me personally, it looks for me that it comes from the manufacturers and retailers that dump food. Because there's also packaging that goes with it. So the probability that it comes from the manufacturers, it could be from the manufacturers, a large chunk of them, because obviously they can write it down for waste, and then obviously they can get some tax credit because they are not getting their revenue from that food, so they can write it off. But from the farming industry, there is also one hell of a big problem. One was, what I picked up was this new notion, go green people. They eat green foods and stuff and all of those things, and they want food specifically. And then retailers request particular food from farmers. And then what the farmers, obviously farmers are planting quite a lot of stuff, and then some of the products, not some, quite a lot of them, that is one scenario that I was reading, and I actually got quite a lot of information from it. But a lot of people was complaining, or farmers were complaining, that the retailers want specific food, and it changed quickly because of this new green stuff that the people are going on. So they produce the food, and the retailers want it specifically because there's quite a sharp increase in this green people. So the rest of the food, and quite a lot of the food, they said about 40% of the food goes to waste. And then they try to sell that other 40% to the market. And when it gets to the market, it's rotten. Some of them are rotten. Some of them get sold. But then the price negotiations go also in there because there's logistics problems from the farmers to get this food to the other people and also to the retail store, because there's also the other problem that comes in, that trucks get burned and all of those things. That was also a big concern there. But the main thing for me is that the problem is between retailers and manufacturers. That looks to me like the problem. And also the farmer that can't sell his products to the market. And on top of that, we have a shrinking market, or a shrinking buying power in South Africa. As I just explained, like 30% of South Africans have a tip of hunger, and there's quite a lot of unemployment that goes on with South Africa, about 50%. So obviously there is a weak demand, I would say, for products, or farming products, or food in general. So the farmer tried to sell his products because the farmer has also some other issues that he needs to deal with, because it's quite a lot of things. The water the tariffs that are increasing through the roof, the electricity tariffs that goes through the roof, security that farmers are actually spending on. So he produced food trying to get the cost down, because the retailer or the manufacturer is a problem, because he don't want to buy stuff at a high price. And then when this food get rotten, some of the farmers go dump it, because obviously they get tax credits from that as well. Now there's organizations also that wants to collect this food so that they can distribute it to actually to people, like for donations. But then there's also a problem that goes on there with the distribution side. So now the big question is there really a food problem in South Africa? The answer is no. Can farming be profitable? That is actually the other question. And the answer that I got is basically no. Unless you export out of South Africa. Because between the manufacturer and the farmer, there's a heavy battle there. Because the manufacturer wants a very low price from the farmer. And the farmer has a huge increase in operating costs for the last 15 years. With water, electricity, and also when it comes to security as well. So now, because in the market, because the manufacturer is pushing the farmer to produce food at a cheap price, manufacturer wants to have a cheap price for the retailer, and the retailer sit with a shrinking demand. Now, is the potatoes and all the other goods that we are facing in South Africa, even the eggs, is it really high because of a drought, climate change, or people just don't have money, or are they just dumping the stuff? So what can be the problem? Because honestly for me, if I need to stick to the topic of today, is farming really profitable? Because I see a huge, I would say, social media that actually push this narrative through, that successful farmers and all of those type of things. But do we understand the problems when it gets to farming? It's quite a lot of people that wants to go into farming. I fully understand it. And please, I'm not actually saying that you must not go into farming. But the problems that I get what I can notice, if it's not climate change, then it's the manufacturer. If it's not the manufacturer, then you have Eskom. If it's not Eskom, then you have the municipals that can't actually get water or don't have the infrastructure to get the necessary water to the farms. So there's quite a lot of holes when it gets to farming. And I don't understand, I don't know. There's a lot of upcoming farmers or people that want to do farming understand the dangers of farming. I'll just take a short break and then I'll be back with you some more information.
The champ is here! 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 The champ.
Greatness is not this wonderful, esoteric, elusive, God-like feature that only the special among us will ever taste. You know, it's something that truly exists in all of us. It's very simple. This is what I believe, and I'm willing to die for it. Yeah. Period.
I came from the bottom, but I'm coming to the top. Like the test of your will, how much faith do you got? Your foot's on the line, will you ever take a shot and score the game? Winning points when it's zeros to clock. I've came to find that life's a test, there's no cheating either. Just work and stress, if no money's provided, you're eating less. Bills on the table and pain in your chest. You promise you'll pay for the things that you can't. You want the whole world, but it's burning in your hands. You ask for help, no one hears you in the stands. A crowd full of friends you can never call fam. They love you then, but they don't love you now. Your whole life seems to be crashing down. You never feel safe when there's no one around. So if you feel like giving up, you gotta stand your ground. No one else can ever try to tell you otherwise. So stop trying to be just like them other guys. Fake the haters who live in to see you feeling life. And fuck the coaches who judge it cause of the shape of size. If you ever wanna make it, you gotta show effort and show dedication and crave it like basically nothing else matters but getting that paper and that education. Just take it from me. I ain't doing this shit. The rap with a mouth full of gold teeth. That'll show the whole world that my chain ain't soldiers. Let the world know I'm an OG. No, I do this for my fam, for my city and for me. Cause honestly, I throw a middle finger up to those who don't. So when you want it, get it, don't ever give up. You got it, you wanna make it, then chase it. No one can stop you, they're gonna hate you, but let them hate you, that's fine. Cause if they stand in your way, then you gotta leave them behind. But if you want it, get it, don't ever give up. You got it, you wanna make it, then chase it. No one can stop you, they're gonna hate you, but let them hate you, that's fine. Cause if they stand in your way, then you gotta leave them behind. People will always try to bring you down, but that's a part of life. Imaginary action when they see your name up in the lights. Ignore the gossip and nonsense you're hearing on the daily. Cause if it gets to your head, then you'll only end up failing. Just be the best that you can. Only those who love you will be there in the end. Stick with those in your defense and leave alone your phony friends. Stay on track, don't fall behind. Either chase your goals or fall in line. Bullshitting's only a waste of your time, so go with your gut and stay on your grind. I wanna wake up the world. Someone's gotta hear my message. This is food for your thought. Take it as easy ingestion. I won't leave you in question, just a lasting impression. I'm trying to speak the truth, so take heed to my lessons. This is honestly the most honest things I've said in a while. In life you'll always be judged, eternal circles of trials. Just keep your head up and never ever fall to denial. You're finally on the clock, meaning your time is now. You want it, get it, don't ever give up. You got it, you wanna make it, then chase it. No one can stop you, they're gonna hate you, but let them hate you, that's fine. Cause if they stand in your way, then you gotta leave them behind. But if you want it, get it, don't ever give up. You got it, you wanna make it, then chase it. No one can stop you, they're gonna hate you, but let them hate you, that's fine. Cause if they stand in your way, then you gotta leave them behind.
Getting your business funded is a lengthy process with the banks, and it can take weeks before getting an answer. ProfitFX works with the best in the finance industry to bring you an unrivaled business funding solution for South African businesses. Our funding partners have funded millions in the last year in support of growing your business and our economy. Get in touch with your talk show host to request more information. A trade history of 3 years or more and an annual turnover of 1 million rand or more is required. Terms and conditions apply.
The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here!
afternoon and welcome to Bull Market Stock Show. This is your host Rian Hobson and we're talking about farming in South Africa. Is it really an industry where people want to go in? And honestly, what I can pick up, it is actually a very, very, very tough industry. It is not an easy industry to do farming, especially when it comes to the logistics part of transporting a good, because also there was other people that I was listening to and reading about where the one farmer tried to create a market for himself. For example, he was planting cabbage, tomatoes, and those type of things, and he put it on his bakkie and transported to the different various locations and try to get people to sell his products. And also on the other side, he needs to sell his products actually at dirt cheap, I can tell you now. And basically he said it was definitely not profitable. It was not just him. There was quite a lot of stories that I hear, because you have maybe, for example, Pick n Pay, for example, who only actually take food from specific farmers. So for you as a farmer who is an emerging farmer that starts now, it's very difficult to get in that industry, because obviously these farmers and Pick n Pay or Checkers and all of them, or the manufacturers, they have long-term contracts with each other. And for you as an emerging farmer to come in, and you need to actually to have something spectacular to get into the market. And I can see that a lot of young farmers actually give up very quickly on this industry, and that actually also put pressure. I will not say on the food security side, but actually put pressure for a lot of young farmers that wants actually to get into the industry, because you expect this glorious narrative that is pushed on social media about farming. It's glorious. You plant your stuff. You think it's very simple. You just buy seed, you put the seed in the ground, and then you get to, it's quite a lot of logistics that goes into there, and then you can sell your product because people needs to eat. But if you really do the farming, as I see with quite a lot of young people, whether black or white, entering the farming industry, and look, it's not that they can't plant, they can. But the distribution to get it to the market is quite a difficult story. And then on the other side, you have the dumping of food, because that is the big concern that I had with this whole thing, is that the dumping, there's a massive dumping. And I can't tell specifically if it comes from the farmers, manufacturers, or the retailers. But for me, it looks more, it can be the farmers, it can be the manufacturers, and also the retailers. But for me, it looks more like your farmers and your manufacturers that do this dumping quite aggressively. And with that, because obviously if they export, I will not say export the stuff, but send it to food banks and all of these organizations, then they distribute it actually to the public. But then you have other consequences, because if you just actually distribute free food to people, and then you have an imbalanced situation where food prices can go down drastically, which sounds actually quite nice, but then it looks for farmers that what is the use I plant and go through all this drama if I only get a few cents on these products that I produce. So then you have another problem where farmers can totally just give up on farming, because the majority of their food get transported to people who just actually want who just actually are on social grounds or whatever, or poverty, and then the food can just get transported to them, and there's no profit in the industry. So it is actually a very, very complex story if you are a young farmer. So you have to be, or you have to understand all these whole things before you go into farming. It is really not an easy story, especially to enter the market. Maybe there's a lot of people who can plant, honestly, but I have no clue. And honestly, it doesn't even interest me to do farming, because just to work on that soil alone, it's already a headache, because a particular soil is for I don't know, for tomatoes, or certain soil is for spinach, or whatever the case may be. You can't just plant stuff. So that for me, it's complex. I rather would stick to economics and doing podcasting and do trading. I think that is for me okay. Everybody has his goal in life, but for those of you who think farming is just a very simple industry, and I know because there's a lot of hunger in South Africa, and we all try to get the solution for this problem. But I think there is a solution. The solution is already there in South Africa. The problem is definitely to do with the distribution, the regulation that goes in with this whole climate change nonsense, and the problem between the manufacturer, retailer, and the farmer. That is also what I pick up that could be the problem. I'm not actually chasing you away from doing farming. If you really want to do farming, but you have to go into a farming industry with a clear mind. You must know what is your problems. You must know about the regulations when it gets to climate change. You must know about the contracts that is being signed between farmers and also the manufacturers and the retailers and all of those things before you can just jump in and become a farmer and think that you will just have that khaki pants and khaki shirt and then voila, there you're a farmer. It is an extremely difficult industry. And with this said, with the last part, the killing of farmers must really come to an end also in South Africa, because if you look at this whole thing, it is a very complex story. Whether you are white or black, I think that the problems are severe, and killing farmers is really not helping the situation. It's really not helping the situation because the industry itself is difficult. I don't know what industry, whether you're economist, banker, or whatever. I think all industries are basically extremely difficult. So don't add fuel to the whole story, because obviously if farmers are no longer there, we will not just sit with 30 million South Africans who basically are sitting on the tip of hunger. We will have all of us with this problem. So please, can we all just stop the farm killings? And for those farmers that wants to start, please get your logistics in line before you start, because what I just shared with you now, which is it's a tip of the iceberg of the information that I have, it is actually a very, very complex industry, but it is not impossible. That's it from my side for today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's show, and I will see you guys with Monday, and hopefully they will have the stimulus package deal done over the weekend, which I doubt, but we will hear all about that on Monday at 1 o'clock. That's all from me. Lovely weekend. Bye-bye.
The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here!